This is episode 53 with Craig Ballantyne.
Welcome to Men of Abundance, the podcast for those looking to level up their lives by hanging out with some of the greatest leaders and established professionals in our community, living a life of integrity, honor, and the abundance mentality. Prepare to pay it forward with your host, former Army medic turned lifestyle entrepreneur, Wally Carmichael.
Hey, Men of Abundance, what is new in your world? I'll tell you what, I had all kinds of crazy stuff going on the last week or so. I had some major issues with my computer. It kept just shutting down for some random reason. I had some other things get in the way, so I was not able to post this episode on the planned date, which was supposed to be posted on 9 November. So I'm actually posting this 11 November. Which, of course, as you know, is Veterans Day, and happy Veterans Day to all of my brothers and sisters out there. I will be posting a video blog later on today, and that will be posted at menofabundance.com/blog, or it'll be a Facebook live video. So if you're on my Facebook, you'll catch it live if you are subscribed. And if not, no worries, just catch the replay at menofabundance.com. Just go to the blog and you'll see all of my video blogs there, which is pretty cool because when I do Facebook live videos, those videos post automatically to my blog, and then I just go write some content for it so that the search engines can find it. It's pretty cool. Anyway, I'm going to possibly have a double episode posted today because I still want to get the Friday episode out. So stay tuned and make sure that you're subscribed to menofabundance.com on iTunes, or you're paying attention to the website, and you will see Brad and Morgan Robinson's episode post. And the primary subject of that episode is about marriage. And I think it's a very, very valuable episode for everybody to listen to. Maybe you and your wife both want to listen to it together. Now, real quick, before I introduce Craig to you, I want to mention that I have partnered with Audible. Now, I know you like listening to audio because you're listening to this podcast. I don't know if you've ever purchased any audiobooks, but I highly, highly recommend it. What I do is I purchase an audiobook. I listen to the book. If it's the type of book that I want to go through and make notes on and reference on a regular basis, I will either then buy the Kindle version or electronic version or the hard copy. Sometimes I end up getting both, but I just love audio because I'm always out doing something. I'm either driving, I'm kayaking, I'm doing something to where I can listen to the books instead of having to read them, and I get the content, and I've listened to some audiobooks over and over and over again. Well, here's the thing. Since I'm now partnered with Audible, you get a 30-day free trial, and along with that, you get one free book. And I'm going to list the books that I recommend that you get right off the bat. And which book you choose really depends on where you're at in your life right now and where you want to go. So if you're listening to this episode at menofabundance.com/053, just scroll down and you'll see the Audible logo. And there I will have the books. I will list 3 books that I recommend. Now here's the other cool thing. By getting started with Audible through that link, you are helping Men of Abundance by helping us keep the mic on. And I truly, truly appreciate that. And so do many other men all over the world. In fact, I just looked this morning, and Men of Abundance is being downloaded and listened to in 31 countries around the world. That is super amazing and super exciting for me anyway. All right, let's bring Craig out. Now, as usual, Craig's going to come out and get more in depth into his story, but basically, Craig Ballantyne is a productivity and success transformation coach from Toronto, Ontario, Canada. He's the author of The Perfect Day Formula, How to Own the Day and Control Your Life, which is an amazing, amazing subject. And this is impressive. He has been the contributor to Men's Health magazine since 2000, and his articles have also appeared in Women's Health, Oxygen, GQ, Maxim, National Geographic, Men's Fitness, and Muscle and Fitness, Hers, amongst many others. His articles have also been featured on Inc.com, lifehacker.com, and telegraphco.uk. Now, you can read the rest of Craig's bio by going to menofabundance.com/053, and I'm here to tell you there's a lot to read. Craig is extremely accomplished and has done many things, and that's part of the reason why I have him on the show. But I also want to mention that on his website, earlytorise.com, you'll find his daily essays on success, productivity, time management, fitness, weight loss, and self-improvement. So definitely make sure you go take a look at that. I will have that link and many others that we talk about in the show notes at menofabundance.com/053. Craig, welcome to Men of Abundance.
Thank you so much, Wally.
Awesome. Where are you at in the world?
I am in Denver, Colorado. What about yourself?
I'm on the island of Oahu in Hawaii.
Well, that is not a bad thing, is it?
It's not. It's certainly not. And so Craig Ballantyne, my middle name is Ballantyne, but I have an E in there instead of an A. Ballentyne.
That's your middle name?
That's my middle name, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Why did your parents choose that?
It's actually a funny story. I was conceived in Germany. My dad was in the Army at the time. And at the time, had I been born in Germany, I would have been a German citizen, and had I ever returned any time after my 18th birthday, I could have been drafted into the German Army. That's the way things were back then. They're not like that anymore. So my mom flew back to Arizona, where I was born in Phoenix, Arizona, and the gentleman that took care of my mother was an elderly man named Wallace Ballantyne Perry, and he passed just before I was born. So they named me after him.
That's so crazy because my father's middle name was Wallace.
Ain't that...
Man.
That is something.
Yeah, crazy.
Really cool, really cool. So I like to start the show out basically like I start out pretty much every single morning, which is with an attitude of gratitude. What do you have to be grateful for today, Craig?
Oh, what don't I have to be grateful for today? It's a beautiful sunny day in Colorado. I'm working with my team, having this call here. We filmed some amazing videos today. I mean, it's been going really, really great. I had a great workout. I got up on time. Man, it's just fantastic.
Yeah, speaking of videos, before I forget, I was looking at your video that you have on your About page at CraigBallantyne.com. Amazing, amazing video. The production is just amazing, and everything about it, I was blown away. Beautiful. Thank
you so much. So I use that when I speak, and sometimes I feel like, this is a little over the top, but it's really a great video, and it's put together by my friend Rob Yeager, who is actually the full-time video editor for my friend Bedros Koulian, who I'm business partners with, but Bedros is also my business coach in helping me become a better speaker and more polished in all the stuff that I do. So we have Rob and Bedros to thank for that welcome video.
Wonderful. Yeah, it's great to have all those. See, it's all about the connections, man. Your network is your net worth, and that's more than just money.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in my life, I've been very fortunate to have built a business where I get to make money with friends, and some of my most successful business partners are my best friends in my life, and they hold me to a high standard and help me have more success in life, and it's just really a virtuous circle.
Yeah, it truly is. I mean, you just can't. You can do so much more for the world, for yourself, for your family, and for others by having just an amazing network of people in your corner, in your circle.
Yeah, and the old Jim Rohn saying that you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with really is true. It's scientifically proven for weight loss, for people that smoke cigarettes. If you hang around cigarette smokers, you have a greater chance of becoming one, but likewise for success. If you hang around successful people, you're going to become more successful.
Absolutely correct. Absolutely. So before we get too much into it, and I know some folks are wanting to jump over and see that video at CraigBallantyne.com, but before we do, and by the way, Ballantyne, Craig Ballantyne is Ballantyne. I wanted to make sure I spelled that correctly since I spelled mine. And but before we got started, I gave a very brief bio, talked a little bit about you, but I want to hear it directly from you. I'd like to hear a little bit more about who Craig Ballantyne is, and let's get a little bit personal.
Yeah, so believe it or not, when I was in high school, I wanted to be a strength and conditioning coach in the National Hockey League, of all things, because I grew up in Canada, and hockey was the big thing up there, and I couldn't play in the NHL, so I wanted to work there one way or another. That led me to getting my master's degree in exercise physiology, and when I was a student, I lucked out and found the editor's address for Men's Health magazine, the fitness editor, contacted him, and the next thing you know, at age 25, I'm a regular contributor to Men's Health magazine, and that was my big break, Wally, and that allowed me to really establish my credibility in the fitness industry, and then I started selling my own fitness programs, much like the P90X programs, with my own spin on training and for fat loss. And I've been selling those for over 15 years now with videos and all great sort of stuff, and we've helped hundreds of thousands of people. But in 2011, I bought a business that allowed me to help more people in different ways. It's called Early to Rise, and it had been around since about 2001. And I bought it from my mentor, a man who helped me build my businesses. And today we run the fitness business and we run Early to Rise here in Denver. And we help people get more done, make more money, and still get home on time for dinner is what I like to say.
You know, I like to have that conversation because I was, and still am, a registered Beachbody coach and affiliated with Beachbody and P90X and Insanity and all of the programs that they put out on a regular basis and all of these amazing trainers. And I speak with other personal trainers, group trainers that have their own programs and their own spin on things. And you have that. And it's just amazing to see that. I hear people say, well, why would you get into that fitness arena? It's already saturated. There's already, Shaun T, Tony Horton, all these other different folks that are mainstream, yet there's people out there doing it. And what was it about you that made you that successful to where you're still doing this so many years later?
Well, to answer, the first part of the conversation, I mean, you go outside and walk on the street, and you'll see why there's still need for more fitness programs.
Agreed.
I mean, we're not even close to beating, the weight loss problems and health problems that the world has, not just America, but the entire world. And so we need more people out there. We need more people who are taking the message and making it something that other people, the layperson can understand. We need high energy people like Shaun T and Tony Horton to get people who have no interest in exercising to get involved. We need people like my friend Bedros Keuilian, who started a franchise called Fit Body Boot Camp, and I actually own 4 Fit Body Boot Camps across North America, where these are a location where women are not intimidated to exercise and they build a great community. And that's what stopped so many people in the past. And then they need people like me who are showing people how to exercise in 4 to 20 minutes with absolutely no equipment and follow along videos that they can do anytime, anywhere with high energy. And so we need all of these solutions. And that's why, people who are passionate about helping other people are still getting into an industry that, you definitely say there's plenty of competition out there, and not just from other exercise programs, but from diets and surgeries and all types of things. But the world needs it. And it's really amazing that, today we're able to go out and build a business around that, whereas 20 years ago it was difficult. 30 years ago, almost no one did it. 40 years ago, I mean, you would have been a complete pioneer to be in this industry. And it's really grown, but the world needs it more than ever still.
Yeah, I completely 100% agree with that, without a doubt. And boot camp, what was it? Boot Camp Body Fitness?
It's Fit Body Boot Camp, and it's one of the fastest growing fitness franchises in America. And it's very easy for a trainer to get started with it because you don't need to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on machines. It's very simple stuff like TRX or bodyweight exercises, maybe some kettlebells, and you can just get started with a boot camp style workout, which really has lowered the barrier to entry for so many people, on both the trainer and the end user, to get started with exercise. Because most people back in the day, like 10 years ago, and especially in the 90s, everyone thought you had to go and use a treadmill or a Stairmaster or something, and that meant having an expensive gym membership, and going to a gym and not knowing how to use equipment is intimidating, and so people wouldn't go. And it wasn't fun because they didn't like it, and I don't blame them because it's boring to use one of those machines. But now, boot camps and group exercise has really taken off more than ever before, because there's that camaraderie and people see other people like them getting results, and it motivates them. And there's so many benefits to it. And that's just another thing that we need more of.
Yeah. I like Fit Body Boot Camp. I've seen it around. I've seen it before. In fact, a good friend of mine, he's got his own studio as well, and his studio, he does his own stuff, but he has a lot of other stuff because he's also partnered with Beachbody, and he does his Insanity P90X and stuff. But to keep with the abundant topic and the abundant lifestyle, Craig Smith, he collaborates with the Fit Body Boot Camp that's literally right across the strip mall from him. They work with each other, because there's certain people that want to do certain types of exercises, and they realize it's better to collaborate than it is to be in complete competition with each other, because they realize they have different programs to offer and different personalities, and different clients need different things. So I think it's beautiful when people come together and they can collaborate like that and have that abundant mentality.
Yeah, absolutely. And I always remember hearing that if you wanted to open a coffee shop, the best place to do it was across the street from a Starbucks, because, like you said, there's going to be different offerings there. And so you're going to have all these people going for coffee one day at a Starbucks, and then there's going to be a lineup, and they're going to see, you know, this independent chain across the street, and it's going to be really easy for them to go and try you out. So that is an abundant mentality. And same with your friend Craig Smith, who is sharing customers, and really what he's doing is he's simply adding value to the world. He's not being scarcity minded, and when he's going out and doing that, he's only going to get better. His life is only going to improve, and he's going to help more people. So hats off to him for that.
Yeah, it's beautiful. So with all the success you've had, I've seen your video, and you just look like this amazingly successful man that's always been successful, never had any pitfalls, everything's gone perfect. But after talking with, at this point, 42 episodes of Men of Abundance and off Men of Abundance, I talk to men all the time, men and women. I know anybody who's moving forward and doing amazing things, you have those kick-in-the-gut moments. And I'd like for you to share one of those stories with us, one of those worst kick-in-the-gut moments that you've experienced, either personal or entrepreneurial. For us here at Men of Abundance, we really like to get to know the person behind the greatness and behind the abundance and behind the business. So if we could share that story with us.
Yeah, I started laughing at the start of that when you said, you know, that had never had any problems. That's for sure. I certainly have. So the worst and lowest moment of my life was back in 2006 when I struggled with severe anxiety attacks. And these are not, you know, end of the day, I feel kind of stressed out. But this was literally, I felt like I was having a heart attack, so much so that I went to the emergency room twice over the period of 6 weeks. I walked in, I said, I think I'm having a heart attack. They took me to the back. They held my hand and said everything was going to be okay, gave me some tests, and eventually I was able to overcome this anxiety by doing everything I possibly could, which included meditation, qigong, yoga, all these things. I went out and bought a dog, and one of the reasons was because I heard that petting a dog was, you know, a good way to reduce anxiety. But this was crippling, and the very, very lowest point in my life was one morning when I was training one of my overweight clients, and I just started freaking out in the middle of it, and I said to him, I need to go to the hospital right now. And it was a beautiful, sunny Monday morning in Toronto, and he just didn't understand, because anxiety is like a black box. First of all, the person experiencing it, they can't understand what's wrong with them. And second of all, you can't explain it to somebody else. It's not like a broken arm where someone can see that you have physical damage to your arm, or they can say, yeah, I had a broken bone once. But, you know, my client looked at me and thought I had 5 heads. They didn't understand. They gave me a ride to the hospital anyways, but, you know, our relationship was never the same. And so that made me go and put more structure into my life. And that sounds kind of a bit of a paradox, but people do need to have structure in their life. They need to have planning and preparation. They need to be proactive rather than reactive like most people are. And so I was living reactively. I was checking my email first thing in the morning. I was waking up as late as I could. I was going out late and drinking too much alcohol. I was drinking too much caffeine, and all of these things spiraled into these anxiety attacks. And I was very fortunate that it only cost me a couple months of my life, whereas I know other people that have dealt with it longer. And 5% of the population deals with this on a severe level. So I know that you're going to have dozens, if not hundreds of people listening to this, Wally, that are going to be going through this, or have gone through this, or might go through this in the future. And I just want to say to those people that everything can be okay, that there is solutions out there for it. And so, first of all, check with your doctor, make sure that there is nothing physically wrong with you. And then once I found out there was nothing physically wrong with me, I just, I turned over all those rocks. I learned how to breathe better again, which sounds kind of weird, but I learned how to breathe slowly and deeply through my belly and not through my upper chest, because breathing short and shallow actually makes things worse. And so all of that was a big education to me, changed my life, and then led me to putting all of my systems down in a book that I call the Perfect Day Formula. So it was through those struggles that I became stronger, just as everybody gets.
Beautiful, and thanks for sharing that with us, because a lot of men don't like to admit that they went through that type of anxiety or having those type of attacks, because it just doesn't, for some reason, still even today in our culture and even within the military, and that's my background with PTSD, and there's a lot of anxiety issues and a lot of other issues like that. It's just ingrained in us that we don't talk about this type of stuff. But it truly is strong. A strong person will admit that something's not right, and seek help for that.
Yeah, yesterday I spoke in front of 150 entrepreneurs here in Denver, and it was at the Underground online seminar, and I told that story, and I said, this is one of my life's missions, is to go out there and help as many people understand what they're going through. And I had 4 people after, just in that small group, come up to me and say, that happened to me. I was, one guy, he was in the airport, and he had to tell them as he was boarding the airplane, he had to tell them that, and the EMTs came and helped him out. I mean, it's very embarrassing. I mean, I tell this story, I'm okay telling this story now, but it certainly was an embarrassing time in my life because I didn't know what was wrong with me. And I didn't, I'm up in Canada, I don't have to pay to go to the emergency room, and so I'm wasting all of these resources, and I felt guilty and ashamed of that. So I heard from another guy who had gone through the same thing in South Africa. And so you hear all these stories, and when I first shared this in my email newsletter, I heard from business partners and successful people whose names people might recognize that they had gone through it. And so everyone at one time deals with a lot of anxiety, and some people have to deal with a much, much worse case of it. So no one should be ashamed or embarrassed by it. Looking back, I don't feel ashamed or embarrassed by it now because it's just something that people have to deal with. So again, talk to your doctor first, and then explore every possible way to calm yourself down and get yourself out of stress-inducing environments.
Right, because you weren't I can't imagine you'd be very productive in that mindset at all.
No, I mean, I would still go to the gym, but my workouts were not focused, because all you would think about was the anxiety, the work, obviously. You're not able to concentrate and focus. I couldn't sleep very well, so I was probably sleeping from 11 p.m. till 3 o'clock in the morning, and then I'd wake up, and the anxiety would be really strong in me. I had symptoms of a heart attack. So, I mean, I had tingling from the top of my head down to the end of my fingertips. I had a tight chest. I couldn't breathe, elevated heart rate. And this went on for 6 weeks, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So you were like in this mental prison of, not being able to focus and not feeling right and wondering, when is this ever going to end? And so I'm just so grateful that I was able to overcome that.
Men of abundance, you men leaders, abundant leaders out there, I know somebody sitting there listening to this, and as Craig is describing exactly what he was going through, you're probably feeling that. It's probably bringing some of that back. And that's not really the intent to do this, but the intent is to show that men deal with this and that you do need to go seek help, and it's definitely being strong, much stronger to go seek that help and get the help that you need. So, Craig, at what point, what was the pivot point? At what point was enough is enough? I mean, I know you were seeking help and everything, but what was the pivot point in your life that launched you to overcome that? Or I don't know that you still have overcome that. You're probably still dealing with it, but taking you to the level that you're at this point.
So the second time that I went to the emergency room was when I had my personal training client take me. And that was 6 weeks into the anxiety attacks. That was about May of 2006. And they did a chest x-ray that time, and then they sent me home with a heart rate monitor for 24 hours. And then when I took it back, they said, okay, thank you. We'll call you if there's anything wrong. And I didn't hear from them. And then the next day, I also bought a book called Panic Away on the internet. It's just an ebook from panicaway.com. I don't own it. I have nothing to do with it. But I read the first chapter, and then I read the first 5 words in the second chapter, and that almost cured me. I mean, it was almost like, snapping your fingers or flipping a switch. And the 5 words were, "There's nothing wrong with you." And I don't know why the author, Barry McDonough, wrote that in the book, but I mean, the timing was perfect because I had not heard from the hospital, and they said, we'll only call you if there's something wrong. And so I knew that physically there was nothing wrong with me. And so when I read those words, I stopped reading. I never read the rest of the book. If it was a physical book, I would have shut it, and that would have been it. And ironically, I said to myself, you know what, I'm too busy for all of this, anxiety. I'm too busy for this. And that was it. That was it. Now, like you said, that I did have to deal with it a little bit longer. It would come once in a while. I would say maybe every 3 months. I would start to get this burning sensation just under my left pec, like over my heart. And that's why I always thought it was a heart attack. And so when I get that, then I know that I might have had too much caffeine that day, or I'm really stressed on something. Or to be honest with you, I'm a little bit of a hypochondriac, so sometimes something will make me think that I have something else, and the next thing you know, I'll start having that feeling of anxiety. And sometimes it's just a random note from somebody, or if I start feeling envious, then I start getting anxious. And so that hasn't happened in a very long time. It was probably about 2009 or 10, the last time I had to, I was worried that it was coming back. And so now I feel like I'm totally in control of it, because I know it's really a physiological response that can be fought with a different physiological approach, which is that breathing. So the breathing is probably one of the most important things that is going to help people listening, and that's learning how to breathe in through your nose and fill up your belly, and do that over a 4 count, and then hold that for a couple seconds, and then exhale for an 8 count. And if you do that 6 times, most people will feel the weight of the world lift off their shoulders when they're stressed out. So if you're just having a bunch of stress, not an actual anxiety attack, and you do that, you'll feel a lot better with 3 to 6 of those really slow breaths. And so that's what I use now, and I've been fortunate to not have a full-blown anxiety attack for many, many years.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that, because those little techniques certainly help that some people may not have even heard of. And some people may be feeling the way that you described and not even realizing that they're having an anxiety attack, or possibly could be. So certainly go have that checked out. So let's talk about CraigBallantyne.com. What are you doing there? Who are you working with? And what is CraigBallantyne.com?
Right, so that's an offshoot of a couple of my main websites. So I have earlytorise.com, which is my main business, and that's where we help people become healthier, wealthier, and wiser. We put out a daily email to 100,000 people a day with great wisdom in there, and then from all of my struggles, I put together my book, PerfectDayFormula.com. And so we have a book, and we have a kit, and we have coaching programs about how people put more structure into their day to have more freedom in their life. And then the CraigBallantyne.com is really my speaking page. So if people want to have me speak at their event, or if they want to order the books in bulk, that's really what CraigBallantyne.com is set up for, and also for the coaching programs that go with the Perfect Day Formula. So all of that is together on the success and development side of my business. And then we have our fitness businesses and fitness websites as well. But I'm moving away from some of the fitness stuff into more of a business based around the Perfect Day Formula, because the Perfect Day Formula really is my life's work in a book. It's what I coach people on today. It's how I help people have their success. It's how I help them separate work from home life so they aren't stressed out at night when they're spending time with their family. And that's really what our business is all about today, and helping entrepreneurs, executives, families, everybody to get more done and still have time for their family.
And how long have you been doing that?
Well, we've had Early to Rise since 2011, and the book came out in 2015.
Oh, okay. I'd love to hear a good news story about somebody who has either read the book or somebody you've worked with, and how it's affected their life.
Yeah, I mean, so many people that I deal with are either solo entrepreneurs or running small businesses of, $1 to $10 million. And a lot of these people, they would just work. They wouldn't have any separation between work and home life. And so I love hearing from my coaching clients. There's a guy named Mike Whitfield. He's in Georgia, and one of the things that really helped him is this little exercise I have called the brain dump. And so Mike works at home because he's an online entrepreneur, but he has 2 young boys, and he wants to be able to end his day and go and spend time with his boys and play sports with them and really be focused on them, just like my father was with me back in the day. And so Mike finally figured out, okay, I'm going to follow Craig's instructions by doing this brain dump, which is just a little exercise where you write down on a scrap piece of paper at the end of the day all the things that are running through your head. And you get them all down on a piece of paper, and then you can just take that symbolically and open up your desk drawer and put those ideas in the drawer and shut that drawer and say, okay, I'll come back and deal with you in the morning. But right now I'm going home to my family. And that really matters to me, so that Mike is able to be present. He's not looking on his iPhone, because when I walk around here in Denver at the park, I see fathers on their iPhones while playing with their kids, and their kids get demotivated by it. And they kick the soccer ball to their dad, and the dad walks over to it, not even looking up from the iPhone, and kicks it back. And with each kick, the child puts less effort into it because he knows his father's not paying attention to him. And then, that breaks my heart, even though I don't even know these people. But to know that Mike Whitfield is able to spend time with his kids because he's focused on his work during the day and his family at night, that's what it's all about. I mean, it's a throwback to the 1950s, and I think that was really great what families were able to do back then, which is have dinner together and, have time together after dinner. And we're really lost on that in this digital world, and so I'm really, really happy to see that. And Mike has been so successful with my systems and building his business that his wife was able to quit her job, and now she's able to work, be a stay-at-home mom. And I know that's a traditional family that some people might say, oh, that's not the way it should be today, but that's the way they wanted it. And so he's living his life of his dreams because he's using systems. And this was a guy who was once working at Home Depot, as a reactive employee, and then he was a gym manager. He was a manager at a gym, and he was never getting ahead in life. And he was once 100 pounds overweight, but using all of these systems, he's able to really dial in what many would say is a perfect life. And so I'm really proud of him. He's done a lot of work. I'm not taking credit for that, but I will say that my systems have helped him put his systems in place so that he can operate at a high level.
That's an amazing story. Thank you for sharing that, because I'm the same way. I've always taken my little guy to the park. Now, my oldest two, I was active duty military for a long time, so I didn't get to really grow up with them like I have my youngest one, who's 7 now. He was born 2 weeks before me going to Iraq, and then I was gone for a year. But ever since then, he's my shadow. And it's like as soon as I get home, he wants to go to the park. And I'll admit, I go to the park, I want him to socialize with the kids. And if it's just nobody else is at the park, then I'm playing with him. We're on the monkey bars, we're sliding, we're swinging, we're doing all that stuff. And I'm completely engaged. And then when he's playing with his friends and whatnot, I'll admit, I have my phone there and I'm listening to a podcast. This is why I like listening to podcasts instead of reading. Or I'm listening to an audiobook, because I can have eyes on him while I'm listening instead of my eyes down on the screen looking at the screen. This is just a tip that I'm giving you guys, abundant leaders and men of abundant audience, is that
I think it's great. Yeah, I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, thank you for that. I appreciate that, Craig. It works for me because I want him to socialize and play with the kids and have fun, and I want to be able to, because they're quick. They can be gone like super quick, right? And he's a little bit older now, he knows better, but when he was 4 or 5, he'd be across the street with another friend before I knew it, if I took my eyes off of him. So instead of reading, which I love to do, I listen to the audios and I can continue watching him. So that's really cool. So yeah, and that's great that that's a great story that you're able to help somebody like that improve their business, improve their relationships, and really focus on the now and focus on what they're doing at that point in time and get their health under control. Amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Yeah, well, thank you. I'm very happy to share that, and I just love hearing those stories. And I hear stories. This is not just for men. I mean, I hear stories from women who are stay-at-home moms or who are entrepreneurs as well, and they're just able to, still have more time for their family because now they're getting their systems in place, and we show people how to focus on their priorities and make a big impact, even though they're not working a lot of hours in the day.
Yeah. Wonderful. So, Craig, we are going to pay it forward to Men of Abundance. You ready to do that?
Absolutely.
Excellent. So give Men of Abundance 1 to 3 actionable steps that they can take today.
Yeah, the number one thing that you can do to really move ahead in your life is to get up 15 minutes earlier than you usually do, and do that, make that a habit every day. Go down to your kitchen table with pen and paper and work and brainstorm on your number one priority in life. So that could be an opportunity that you have, an opportunity to take advantage of in your business or in your career. It could be a sales presentation to prepare for, or it could be a problem to solve. For example, if somebody listening is in $3,000 worth of credit card debt, they can go down to their kitchen table and they do that 15 minutes a day, 6 days a week. That's 72 hours in a year of being able to think about their number one problem and how they can solve it. So they'll figure out ways they can make more income, ways that they can decrease their expenses, and they'll get credit card debt faster than ever. So it doesn't matter what your number one priority in life is, but if you give it 15 minutes a day, you can really make a big impact on it. Because that's a proactive approach to life. And most people, the rest of their day is reactive. You know, we get to work, we deal with people's incoming calls and emails and their emergencies and the fires they give us and the deadlines they give us at 3:30 because they didn't get their work done. And so if you can get up and get ahead, that's going to make a huge impact on your life. And so it's all about being proactive. I mean, we could talk about proactive about planning your day the night before, proactive about doing that brain dump so that you're able to be present with your family. But I really found in life there are two types of people: successful, proactive people and reactive, struggling people. So if you find yourself checking your email first thing in the morning, stop doing that so you're not reactive and focus on your number one priority and make big progress there. And over time, it will compound just like interest and make you happier, wealthier, and healthier.
Great steps. Absolutely agree with that 100%. What habits make up the biggest impact in your life?
Well, I would say that there's really 5 things that somebody needs to do in order to change a habit. And those 5 things are to do better planning and preparation, get professional accountability, get a coach of some kind who will give you expert advice, give you positive social support, and that's what you're going to get from your friends who are going to pick you up when you're feeling down and tell you that, hey, you can do it, and we need those people in our lives. And you need to find a meaningful incentive to go and change any habit, and then you need to set a deadline for all your actions, because the deadline spurs us to action, it gets us going, it keeps us going, and it helps us get more done in those final few days before the deadline comes around, because that is what we need to overcome our procrastination. So those 5 pillars of success, as I call them, can help anybody change any of their habits in life so they can become more successful.
Perfect. Men of Abundance, one thing I want to point out that you may have noticed amongst all of the guests that I've had on the show so far is all of them have some sort of daily habits that they follow, myself included. In fact, for the last 5 years, one of my daily habits that I have not missed is drinking a dense nutrition shake every single morning after my workout. I had never been a fan of any protein shakes or nutrition shakes or nutrition drinks or anything of that nature. I did get into smoothies at one time, but making smoothies, quite frankly, is very expensive and very messy in most cases. But about 5 years ago, my doctor told me that I had to do something about my cholesterol. Ironically enough, as it happens, divine intervention, call it what you want, I was introduced to this dense nutrition shake that completely turned my cholesterol around. On top of that, I had more energy, my esophageal reflux went away, my chronic joint pain wasn't nearly as bad, and I shed some weight, all within the first 28 days. I can talk all day long about what just 30 days of this dense nutrition shake will do for you. But until you try this stuff out yourself, you're going to continue to be as skeptical as I was. The cool thing is you can try Shakeology with absolutely no risk whatsoever. There's a bottom of the bag 100% 30-day money-back guarantee. That means you can consume the entire 30-day bag, and if you don't see or feel the difference in your body, or you otherwise just are not completely satisfied, you can send the empty bag back and get all of your money back, no questions asked. And there are multiple different flavors you can try. Now, my favorite flavor is the greenberry and the strawberry. My wife loves the vanilla, and we both like the cafe latte. There's also chocolate, and there's also a vegan chocolate and a vegan tropical strawberry. And there are even sample packs so you can try the various flavors. So to learn more about the benefits of Shakeology, go to menofabundance.com/resources, or just go to menofabundance.com, click on the resources tab, scroll down to the health and nutrition part, and you're going to see the Shakeology tab. Click on that, take a look, and if you have any questions whatsoever, get a hold of me. I'll be happy to help. All right, let's get back to the show. What book would you recommend to our abundant leaders and why?
Well, of course, I'm going to say my book, Perfect Day Formula, because it'll help you get that structure. But the other book that I recommend everybody is a little book called The Art of Living. It's a translation of the philosophical teachings of a Stoic philosopher named Epictetus, and it was done by a woman named Sharon LaBelle. And it's a very short book. I read 1 page a day, and I always say that it's like reading your horoscope. You're always going to say, like, hey, this one applied to me today. And it really helped me reduce my stress in life. And it was actually the foundation of my book, The Perfect Day Formula, because it showed me what I call the 3C formula, which is control what you can, cope with what you can't, and concentrate on what counts. And I applied that to the 3 parts of the day in my book. And so it was a very helpful book to me. And I buy it for so many of my friends and clients, and I recommend it to everybody listening.
Perfect. I'll look that one up. I haven't heard of that one at all. So I will look that up, and I'll have the link to that book as well as your books and all the other links that we've mentioned so far at menofabundance.com. So just go to menofabundance.com, up in the search bar, put Craig Ballantyne or just put Craig. This episode will pop right up. And the show notes are complete with timestamps, which are really cool because then you can kind of time travel throughout the show and go directly to that point of interest that you wanted to get to just by clicking on that timestamp. So I have one last question for you, Craig, and that is, what does living a life of abundance mean to you?
Well, what I've found over the years is that life is not about the money and stuff that we get, but it's really about the people and experiences that we have over our life. You know, the people that we spend our time with, like, you know, your 7-year-old boy, you know, taking him to the park. I mean, that's what you're going to remember in 40, 50 years from now. That's what really matters, not about the fancy cars we might have or the TVs or anything like that. So it's abundance in people. It's abundance in experiences and memories, and that's what life is all about.
I always say collect experiences, not stuff.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. So we're going to close this up, Craig. I really appreciate your time and all of the amazing wisdom and information that you've shared with us. I'd like for you to leave us with a parting piece of guidance and any way that we can reach you.
Yeah, absolutely. So I always tell people, and this is what we have printed on our T-shirts every year at our annual fitness summit, is never, ever give up on what is important to you. So I changed the old Winston Churchill saying of never, ever give up, and I added that last little bit, which is on what is important to you, because there's some things we should give up on. You know, we should give up on drinking too many 6-packs of beer and, you know, having bad habits. But we shouldn't give up on what really matters to us. So if you know what matters to you, keep going after it. And if you want to, you know, show us some or send me some feedback on today's call, I'd love to hear it. You can find me on LinkedIn or at twitter.com/Craig Ballantyne, or you can contact me through CraigBallantyne.com. We have some really cool tools there at CraigBallantyne.com/free gift. A time journal, some tips on how to sleep better, and some really great information to give to all of our listeners today.
I appreciate that. That's great stuff. Yeah, and definitely we didn't talk a whole lot about sleep on this episode, but it's just another part of living a healthy and very abundant lifestyle is making sure you're getting enough sleep. So I'll definitely be going to take a look at that as well.
Excellent.
Excellent. Well, have an amazing day, Craig. I know you will. And again, thanks for your time.
Thank you so much.
All right, bye. All right, Men of Abundance, that's all I have for you today. Like I said, I might get the chance to go ahead and post the other episode that is originally the Friday episode that's supposed to post today. And be looking for that. If I don't get a chance to do that, it's because something got in the way of my today, even though it's a day off. I have a lot of stuff to get done around here and want to hang out with the family and stuff like that. But if it doesn't post today, then definitely look for it first thing tomorrow morning. I truly appreciate you guys. I appreciate the time that you spend with us here at Men of Abundance. Now, make sure you share this with as many men and women as possible because, like I always say, about 28 to 30% of the people that visit Men of Abundance are women. I can see all of that. It's pretty cool. So go out and live your life of abundance and make sure to pay it forward.
That's all for today, Abundance Leaders. For more about our guests and the powerful information we shared with you today, be sure to sign up for our mailing list at menofabundance.com. We appreciate your time and look forward to hanging out with you on our next episode. So until then, be sure to pay it forward and live your life of abundance.